So that mask was pure white when you picked it up, right? But by settling here it became dyed with color. White foxes. Did that symbolize pale skin? And could the dyeing be taken to refer to intermarriage? Maomao felt like she had heard something like that before, and at almost the same moment Shisui provided the answer. The men of this village, a lot of them can't tell colors apart, she said. Can't tell colors apart. Yes. It is less common among the women though. Well, that explains it. That is why there were so many masks with green eyes, and why so many of them were worn by men, and even why one of them belonged to Shisui. Shisui took the pod from the lantern plant attached to her lantern and broke the orange skin, taking out the berries within. She wiped them briskly against her sleeve and popped them into her mouth. They don't taste very good, Maomao informed her. I know, they're toxic, I know. Prostitutes used lantern plant berries as an ingredient in their abortifacients. The berries wouldn't kill you, but they weren't exactly pleasant to eat. Among those who had fled here from the west, some must have gone to the area of the current capital and become the ancestors of today's emperor. Others who put down roots in the north had founded this village, their wooden clogs tapped along the ground. The light from the lanterns was lovely and also a little eerie. It made Maomao feel as if continuing down this path might lead them to another world. However, as they got closer to the shrine, things began to feel more ordinary. Street stalls began to appear and the aroma of meat on skewers perfumed the air. There was also the smell of sweet candy. The shopkeepers wore fox masks like everyone else, but they probably did not accept leaves as currency, as foxes were said to do. Shisui abruptly stopped, raised her mask, worked her jaws a few times, and then spat the skins of the lantern plant berries into the grass. Disgusting, Maomao remarked. Sorry, Shisui trotted toward one of the street stalls. How about something to eat? You're buying? Maomao followed her to a stall selling skewers of meat. She started to drool when she saw the chicken dripping with grease. The offerings also included frog and locust. Maomao regarded them silently. The locusts are plump and delicious this time of year, Shisui explained. Without a trace of hesitation, she munched one of the bugs right off the skewer. I think I'll stick to chicken. Sure, Maomao could eat locusts. But why not have chicken if given a choice? Not frog, Shisui asked. I don't want to eat any frogs for a while. Apparently it was obvious even behind her mask that she felt this way. In any event, Shisui said, got it. He took a chicken skewer from the shopkeeper and handed it to Maomao. Maomao pulled up her mask and began to eat. The meat could have used some salt, but perhaps that was too much to hope for. Instead, it had been rubbed with herbs. What is it? Maomao asked. Shisui was frowning. She then turned toward the grass and spat something out again. I told you that is gross, Maomao said, thinking that Shisui had some surprisingly rough edges. She appeared to have spat out the locust she had just bought. That sucks. That place mixes grasshoppers in with their locusts. What a rip-off. They all look the same to me. Well, they are not. It is hard to tell with the wings and legs pulled off, but they taste nothing alike. Shisui was munching on another insect to get the flavor out of her mouth. This one must have tasted better, for she was chewing thoughtfully. Maomao sometimes ate snakes and frogs, but rarely bugs. In farming villages, eating insects was often a way to keep harmful pests away from the crops. However, the pleasure district was more urban. Locusts were not a very popular dish, especially considering the many more flavorful and delicious things there were to eat. Occasionally, in years with particularly large swarms, farmers who were struggling to earn a living would come to town to sell locusts. The shrine was located on high ground, and a stone staircase led up to it. This allowed the shrine to overlook everything nearby, including the land beyond the forest. The trees gave way to open plains. A mountain range stood beyond them. Was this another town? Maomao thought. The range glittered with light and it wasn't starlight. Maomao over there, Shisui said, bringing her back with a tug on her hand. There was a line of people. When they reached the front, they left their masks at the shrine. A human figure could be seen within the shrine's vermilion interior. It was a child, wearing a white mask and white clothing and sitting utterly still. Their face was hidden, but the mask looked familiar. It belonged to that brat, Kairuyu. He looked like trouble, yet his brushwork was delicate and his mask was beautiful. Shisui explained that each year children are chosen to sit there in lieu of the god. He added, I'm impressed he can manage. Kairuyu responded with a cheerful hee-hee. Everyone wants to do it. It is tiring though, so they switch with someone else in shifts before their legs go numb. I wonder if it is a pleasant memory for them. For some reason, Shisui's eyes had a distant look. Then she said, looks like he is almost done. Let's go wait for him. She led them around the back of the shrine. There they found 3 more children chatting, probably waiting for their turns. What's going on? Shisui asked, joining the circle of kids. Look at this, one of the youngsters said, displaying his rice stalk tail. Upon close inspection, it was clear the fruit was still unripe. I got a bad one. That's because you didn't look carefully when you chose, Shisui said, sounding exasperated. Some people are stingy, you know. They felt it was a waste to offer a good, full ear of rice for the festival. Therefore, they would give one that was poorly developed instead. Maomao looked at the stalk of rice. It had leaves, certainly, but the ear was hollow and empty. It looked immature, not as if it had never fruited, but rather as if it simply hadn't had time. I got it from the village chief, the kid said. Well, there's your problem, one of the other children responded with a shake of the head. A portion of the chief's crop always comes in late. Because he is quite frugal, those are the only parts he ever donates for the festival. What? Bah, the fox will curse him for that. One of the children told him that all the kids around here know about it. You don't because you just came to the village last year. Live and learn, the boy's shoulders slumped. Maomao looked at the ear of rice she was holding. The fruit was full and ripe. She detached it from her lantern and gave it to the boy. You sure? He asked. Sure, she said. She was not deeply religious. It did not matter to her how nice an ear of rice she had. The boy bowed to her, his eyes sparkling. How did I do, sis? Kairu asked the moment he saw Shisui after coming out of the shrine. Another child holding a fresh ear of rice and glowing took his place. Very nice, very nice. He. Maomao didn't know what was so nice about it. She had just sat in one place in the shrine, but she kept her peace. I wish my mom could have seen me, Kairu said somewhat sadly. Shisui patted him on the head. I know, go make your offering and then let's go see the fire, okay? She pointed to a watchtower beyond the shrine. It was down the opposite direction of the stairway they had come up. It was in a very strange place. Is that a spring? Maomao asked. Maybe more of a pond, Shisui said. The watchtower stood upon a body of water. It seemed to be mounted on a raft. Kairu quickly came back from offering his mask. Then they headed down the second set of stairs. Many other people who had offered their masks were already present. Straw was packed around the base of the watchtower. When she looked closely, Maomao could see what appeared to be white masks in the light of the lanterns. After the masks have served as an offering for a whole year, we burn them along with the watchtower. It is said that once the masks have been consumed by the flames, the wishes written on them are carried up to heaven, and whatever you wished for will come true, Shisui said. I didn't write anything, Maomao said. Do you even believe in a superstition like that, Maomao? It was a good question, Maomao thought as she gazed at the watchtower. Instead of wishing fervently, it would be faster to simply fix your eyes on your goal and get moving. It's not a superstition, Kairu protested. The wishes do come true. I made sure to paint my mask nicely and write my wish neatly just like last year. It has to come true. He was getting excited. Had he wished for something so important to him? What did you wish for? Maomao asked. You cannot tell, dummy, okay. Fine, she had only asked to be polite. She did not actually care. Kairu though seemed bothered that she had dropped the subject so readily. He kept glancing furtively at her. Look, Shisui said, pointing at a young child holding a torch. Here comes the flame. A tail of rice bobbed behind him. He appeared to be the child with whom Maomao had traded rice stalks. You didn't want that role, Kairu, Shisui asked. HMPH, I decided to let someone else handle it. I'm not a kid. Despite his protestations, there was a hint of envy in his eyes. An adult wearing a mask accepted the torch from the child. He put the flame to an arrow and passed the arrow to another adult standing nearby with a bow. The second person drew back the bowstring audibly, then let the burning arrow fly in a lazy arc. It dropped down precipitously, directly at the base of the watchtower. A peerless shot. The watchtower must have been soaked in oil because it caught with a whoosh. The flames spread quickly. They could hear the wood crackling. It's so weird, Shisui said. How the watchtower burns but the raft right under it doesn't. That was probably because the raft was in contact with the water. This kept it cool enough to prevent it from burning. In any event, the watchtower became a pillar of flame. This took the fox masks around it with it. The smoke must carry the wishes to the sky. Oh, Kairu mumbled. The tower was collapsing. Some of the masks dropped into the water. He looked at them intently, trying to see whether his own mask was among them. It was impossible to tell from this distance. Not even half of the masks had been completely consumed by the fire and taken up to the heavens. The wishes that don't come true sink down to the bottom and nourish future blessings, Shisui said, almost to herself. Insects do not survive the winter. All they leave behind are their children. She was focused on the distant spectacle of the conflagration of the watchtower. Maomao did not understand the meaning of her words then. Chapter 14, The Worksite. When they got back to the inn, Suhari was waiting for them. She had left in the middle of the day to go somewhere and they hadn't seen her since then. Now she was sitting at a table with several books on it, reading. When she noticed Maomao and the others, she closed her book gently. The lamplight flickered with a breath of air. Dinner, she asked. We will eat if there is anything, Shisui replied. Suhari took a basket from the shelf. Inside was fried yushao bread. She poured 2 glasses of soy milk. Putting 1 glass in front of Maomao seemed to mean she could eat 2. Maomao took a piece of the cold, slightly hard bread. She dipped it in the milk before eating. The soy milk was sweet. It seemed to have a luxurious touch of honey in it. Soy milk was a simple byproduct of tofu production, but its unpleasant smell meant most people did not like it very much. However, the aroma of this milk had been lessened by the addition of fresh ginger, and it was quite drinkable. The 3 women sat around the round table as if at 3 points of a triangle. Maomao was eating silently, and Shisui was relating the events of the festival. Suhari gazed impassively at her book. For a moment Maomao thought it looked like a book about medicine. She took a keen interest in it, but it turned out to be an encyclopedia of insects. It wasn't a printed volume. It bristled with handwritten comments, so many that it looked more like a notebook than a proper book. Maomao stared hard at Suhari. What is it? She asked. Nothing. Just thinking it was about time I held you to your end of our bargain. You mean about the resurrection drug? It was always nice to work with someone who was quick on the uptake. Do you understand the position you are in? Suhari demanded. Maomao was in effect a hostage. She was treated very well though. It was reasonable enough. If she tried to run, they would almost certainly catch her quickly. And if she somehow escaped, there were no nearby towns or villages where she could go for help. She did not know how to ride a horse, at least not quickly. Even so, she would have expected to be confined somewhere, or perhaps tied up. The way the 2 women were acting did not seem to make any sense. If she asked them what they were after, they might actually tell her, but she had more important things on her mind at the moment. Is it thornapple and blowfish? And what is the ratio? What else do you add? How much do you need? Suhari did not answer immediately. Tell me about what it is like right after you revive. I assume you are not able to move immediately. Without realizing what she was doing, Maomao had slid closer to Suhari, provoking a scowl from the other woman. Her hand was twitching. It had not done that before. After another moment, Suhari said, I do not think you need thornapple. You do, Maomao said. It was written in a formula from another country. But I think the intention was to sustain a catatonic state. This was done to artificially produce slaves. I have heard that was the drug's original application. Then she held up her shivering left hand. It was a limb that had worked perfectly well before. The shaking happened because of the resurrection drug. She said, I got off with no worse than this, but a serious mistake could have cost me my memory. She didn't talk as if that were just a guess. She sounded certain, so there must have been other test subjects besides Suhari. Creating a drug demanded a price that matched its value. Trial and error was the only way to discover the proper method. Maomao knew this involved human testing, but she couldn't entirely suppress her other feelings about it. What about the revised formula then? Maomao asked, leaning slowly towards Suhari. Her eyes widened and she felt gooseflesh all over her body. We've only tried it on animals, she said. They were not humans then. They could be wrong after all. Perhaps without the thornapple the subject never revived at all. Of course they would try it on animals first. Maomao's eyes sparkled. She leaned in so close to Suhari that she was practically nose to nose with him. She placed her hand on her own chest, indicating this was the perfect experimental subject. We're not trying it on you. Why not? Be my guest. You're our hostage, Su'eri said flatly. Maomao had to resist the urge to grab her by the collar and shake her until she agreed to give her the drug. She could not waste this chance to find out more about it. Instead she simply backed down. He, it is so nice to see you two getting along, Shisui chirped, taking a bite of fried bread. After all, you and Maomao could both use some more friends, big sis. Shut up, Su'eri snapped. Quiet, Maomao said at the exact same time. They certainly had not meant to speak in unison, but there it was. Maomao was sleeping in the same room as Su'eri, while Shisui took the other room, the one with just a single bed. She complained that she wanted to sleep with the other girls, but Su'eri chased her out, and she went away muttering to herself. It wasn't as if Maomao and Su'eri were spending the night chatting and gossiping. They hadn't last night, and they wouldn't tonight. To be frank, Maomao did not have much to say to Su'eri. Even if she had, she doubted Su'eri would have responded much. She should have started by asking what the girls wanted, but she never did. Finally, she thought she should ask. However, when she opened her mouth, a different question came out. So you are pretty close with Shisui, it seems. You think so? It looks that way to me. That ended the conversation. So that showed how much of a social buffer Shisui provided for Su'eri. When she got up the next morning, Maomao discovered a profusion of books on the table. These were lavishly illustrated encyclopedias of medicinal herbs. There were even some foreign volumes mixed in among them, depicting a wide variety of plants Maomao had never seen before. She could not read most of these books, but papers were tucked among the pages here and there with notes or translations. Su'eri said as she left the room, I am going out. There is a guard outside, so do not get any ideas about running away. I wouldn't worry, she replied. I don't think she'll want to, commented Shisui. He was already up and having some congee for breakfast. What did you do to get a guard posted on you? Asked the little shit, Kairuyu, who was there for some reason. He was dipping some fried bread in his congee. He was annoying, yes, but Maomao wasn't bothered. She was more interested in reading through the treasure trove of books in front of her. Huh. Not going to eat? Shisui asked. Later, I can wait, Maomao said, intent on at least flipping the pages. Shisui, however, shoved some congee softened bread into Maomao's mouth. She chewed obligingly. How about a change of clothes? You are still in your sleepwear. Later, I can wait, it bugs me. Shisui loosened the belt of Maomao's pajamas. Maomao obediently stretched out her arms and kept reading while Shisui slid an overgarment onto her. Geez, look at this girl. She must think she is very important. She acts like Lady Shenmei, Kairuyu said. Maomao was wondering who that was when Shisui smacked her on the small of her back. She rose out of her chair so Shisui could slide a skirt onto her. Yes, thank you, Kairuyu. Go clean up your bowl. Or why should I? Isn't that what servants are for, so you can't do anything without the servants? My, still such a child, I see. She knows how to press his buttons, Maomao thought. And indeed, the little boy who wanted so much to be seen as a grown-up did an about-face. He noisily picked up his bowl and put it on a tray, then carried it out of the room. Maomao half watched him, then nodded appreciatively. He's from a decent family, isn't he? He. In the land far to the east they have a saying, the mighty must wane. She seemed to be saying that everyone, no matter how strong, eventually gets old, that any house, no matter how great, would ultimately fall. Maomao paged quickly through the books while Shisui moved on to her hair. Where's your hair stick from yesterday, Maomao? Maomao pointed silently at the bedroom. Shisui jogged inside and took the hair stick from beside Maomao's pillow. Then she combed Maomao's hair and tied it up. She let one bunch of hair drape beside each ear, holding them together with hair ties. This is a really nice hair stick, she said. You have to be careful with it. You wouldn't want someone to steal it and sell it. Think it would be worth much. Shisui flourished the hair stick in front of Maomao's face. Whoever made this was a very talented craftsperson. There are not many of these in the capital. An expert examining this would know who made it, and from there who likely placed the order. Just look at the care they put into the design they carved into it, all the little details you won't even see. Maomao remembered when a courtesan had sold an accessory a customer had given her as a gift. The same customer then bought it from the pawn shop and gave it to her again as a present. It hadn't been comfortable. She knew how persistent the giver of this particular hair stick could be, leaving her with the uneasy sense that it would one day come back to her. I can't sell it, she said finally. Only thing to do is to melt it back down for the metal then, Shisui said, but somehow Maomao thought that felt wrong too. It's still lacking something, Shisui said. She reached up and pulled the hairpin off her own head, placing it in Maomao's hair instead. There, that's perfect, you're used to this. You get pretty good at it when you're beaten for being too slow, she said, the words sounding as natural as anything. Beaten, aha. It was hardly uncommon for a maid's employer to discipline her, but this sounded strange to Maomao. If I couldn't give a decent massage, I got boiling water poured over my hands. I was so scared of it, Shisui said. That is scary. It sounds like your mistress was a terrible person. The old madam had disciplined Maomao more than once, but even that old woman knew where to draw the line.